What's up? It's Ace again. I came up with another video idea. This also happened when I was 15 years old, but it was my junior year of high school. All right, so I had a few of my screws had tightened up a little bit, but for the most part, I was the same guy. So let's get into it. So one night, I was still smoking weed, so I hit up this buddy. I didn't have any plugs for some reason at this time. So I had to resort to hitting up some random people I didn't really know that well. Some dudes who graduated from my high school the year before. I really didn't like the idea of doing it because I knew they didn't respect me, but I was fiending. I was like, shit, man, I gotta get some weed. So I hit them up for a gram, which where I come from, y'all gonna call me a simp, but the shit was $20. So they come up to my place, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Let me make this quick. I want my mom to see me. So I hand this dude who gets out the back seat the 20. He hands me a little sack, and it feels like weed in there. I didn't look at it. I just took the shit and went back in my house. I open up the bag when I get in there, and it turns out this motherfucker sold me a gram of oregano. But I didn't know it was oregano, and I'm thinking, like, I was trying to make excuses for this dude. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way he just cheated me. Maybe what this is salvia or something. You know, because I heard a lot about salvia, and I had never seen what it looked like. So I take this shit and I smoke it. And then, lo and behold, it was nothing but oregano. So I'm mad at this point. I'm like, fuck this motherfucker. Like, he's just gonna sell me this bullshit and think he can get away with it. So what I do was, I'm like, how am I gonna get back at him? So I text him maybe 30 minutes later. I'm like, yo, man, that was some bomb ass shit. Like, we should meet up so you can sell me some more. I want to get a couple more G's off you. And he's like, all right, tight. So he's like, meet me at this clubhouse in this neighborhood that was maybe like 5 or 10 miles away from my house. I'm like, cool. So I didn't have a driver's license at the time, and my mom was getting ready to go to sleep. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I ran to my garage. I opened it real quietly. I stole my mom's car and drove it all the way to this clubhouse. I get to the clubhouse, and he's out there, and I roll up with him. I roll up to his car door. I get out of my car. Well, I park my car further down so they wouldn't be able to touch my car. And then I walk up to where they're at to meet them. They get out the car. I pull out from behind my back a knife and a hammer. And I was like, all right, this is what's going to happen. Y'all motherfuckers going to give me my money back, and we ain't going to have no problems. It was 3 of them in the car. They were all like a few years older than me. All pretty big dudes. I'm like, I'm not trying to get fucked up here, so I had to bring them weapons. And they started laughing at me. They're like, yo, what you think this is? But one of them was freaking out. They're like, oh shit, this guy's, he's really fucked up. And yeah, I was a little jacked up in the head at the time, but I knew to myself I wasn't gonna stab anybody over $20. Nor was I about to bust them upside the head or in the kneecap with that hammer. I just wanted to scare them so I can get my $20 back. But that was the problem. See, because eventually they were gonna realize that I wasn't actually about to stab them or hit them with that hammer, and they were just gonna jump me. And if they jumped me, I was gonna have to stab them or hit them with the hammer, and somebody was gonna get killed or somebody was gonna get fucked up, and shit was gonna get bad. So I really didn't want that to happen. So they stand outside looking at me for a minute. They're like, well, what you gonna do? And then eventually they're just like, man, fuck this dude. So they get back in their car. But I was like, I ain't about to leave it at this. Like, I didn't come out here for them to get back in their car and roll off without giving me my $20. Like, I'm getting back at them somehow. So I take the hammer before they could pull off, and I'm like, you think this is a fucking game? Smash out the window. They're like, oh shit. So they get out the car. They're like, all right. I was like, where's my fucking money? They're like, we don't have your money. I was like, you know what? Fuck y'all bitches. Because I noticed at that moment that some of the glass from the window that I smashed, like, was all up in my hand. So my hand was, like, bleeding profusely. Like, a bunch of blood was draining out my hand. And I was like, fuck, now I smashed this motherfucker's window. Like, they decided to jump me now. I'm probably going to lose because I can't even use my dominant hand. But they were freaked out enough that they didn't do shit. Like, they were really freaking out because it was dude's mom's car. He was like, shit, this motherfucker done busted my mom's windshield. And so one of them was like, let's just call the cops on this guy. And I was like, yeah, right. So I just walk off, get in my car, and pull off. Meanwhile, I'm driving back home. All this blood is leaking out my hand and shit all into the steering wheel. It's pretty funny. So I get back home, and my mom's awake. She's like, yo, where have you been? I was like, sorry, I had to get back at those dudes who just cheated me. And then I told her the whole situation, and she was like, son, you're really fucking up. And I was like, yeah, I know. So she patches up my hand and shit, and I get on Twitter because I spent a lot of time on Twitter those days, and I followed some of these guys on Twitter. Is I was feeling myself because I really stood up at that moment. You know, I fucked them up more than they fucked me up because I knew replacing that windshield was gonna be a couple $100, way more than the $20 they cheated me out of. So I'm like, let's see what they're talking about on Twitter. The dude on Twitter, he was like, man, he's like, fuck this dude. Now I gotta pay all this money and shit. He's like, that little motherfucker's dead. And so I started fucking with him on Twitter. I started talking all this shit. I was like, yeah, fuck you and your damn team. Like, I was like, I'll do this shit again. And so we started talking shit back and forth. And he was basically like, man, we need to fight. And I was like, yeah, I'll whip your ass. We gonna fight. So a couple weeks later, I turned 16. And the Twitter drama kept going on. And there was this, it was Halloween. And it was, yeah, my birthday's Halloween. But anyway, we're fucking, there was the state fair that day, or the county fair, and I see him and his squad at the fair, and they were like, hey, we should beat your ass for what you did. And I was, I was still feeling myself. I was like, come on, beat my ass, dude. Let's go. We can do this shit right here. And they were like, nah, there's too many people around, punk bitches. So I was like, all right, how about this? I was like, what's your fucking number? And he gives me his number, and I'm like, all right, so when you leave this fair, because I'm about to leave right now. I said, when you leave this fair, we're going to meet up in the parking lot. We're going to settle this shit. And he was like, all right, cool. So I go back with my buddy to his house because I still didn't have a license. I had this friend named, let's say his name was Andrew. Get to Andrew's house, and me, him, and Nick, we smoke a bunch of weed, and finally I get a text from homeboy saying, all right, I'm at the parking lot, where you at? I was like, all right, cool. So Andrew and Nick get in the truck with me, and they take me to the parking lot. They bring baseball bats because we all knew that it wasn't going to be just him at this parking lot. So I had my little backup. But anyway, I told them not to do anything. So I get out the car. As soon as I pull up in the truck, dude comes right to the car door I was at, like standing in front of it. So as soon as I got out, he could start whooping my ass. So I was like, whatever. So I open the door, all calm and relaxed. I get out the car, and I stand in front of him. I start looking him in the eye like, bitch, what you gonna do? Alright, so then he sneaks me. He socks me dead in the middle of the damn face. I was like, alright, shit, this shit's real. So I put my dukes up, and me and him going back and forth. Now, little this dude know, I was actually practicing a lot of boxing footwork at the time. Like, that's all I did was footwork. So, even though that's all I had to me, I knew how to move really quick. So I was running circles around this dude, just picking him apart. He was like twice my size, but I was still jabbing him in the face, crossing all this shit, just like he couldn't keep up with me. But I started getting a little too cocky because I saw that I had the upper hand for a minute. So I tried to knock him out with this one huge right hand. No, it was a right hook, but like I swung it all wild and shit. I swung it so wild that I missed him and slipped. And as I slipped, I fell to the ground for a second. But before I could pick myself back up, he comes up behind me and grabs me. And he tries to like just straight up pick me up and slam me to the ground. I'm like, I mean, I know I'm smaller than you, but I ain't that damn little. So before he could slam me, I grabbed his head and I get him in a headlock. And me and him are just going at it like wrestling. And I was like, this bitch tried to slam me, I'm gonna slam his ass. So I tried to slam him, but this dude was close to like 300 pounds, man. Dude was so damn heavy that as I tried to slam him, we both fell on the ground. And as we both fell, he rolled on top of me and just laid on my back. So I was like, fuck, there's no way I'm getting this dude off of me. I tried to do a push-up with him on my back, but he just fucking like jumped up and landed back on me, so I hit the ground. And he was like, yeah, I got your ass now. He had dreads and shit. And, the thought came to me to pull on his dreads. But I'm like, that's some bitch shit. So I was like, you know what? He's on top of me. Time to take this ass whooping. So he just sits there hitting me in the head and shit. But that doesn't do shit. So I was just eating that shit. But then he grabs the top of my head and smashes that shit on the concrete. And that's when shit got real, because my jaw was kind of fucked up. Like, my lip was all the way busted. Like, I was real scraped up on the chin, and like blood was just gushing out my mouth at this point. And as soon as he saw the blood running out of my mouth, he started choking me out while he was on top of me, and like hitting me with the other hand. So not only am I choking, but I'm choking on my own blood, and I'm getting hit in the temple. So shit was bad at that point. Like, I really thought I was gonna die. And I was like, and I saw my homeboy standing right there with the bat. And at that point, I was like, yo, hit this motherfucker. But he didn't. So I just sat there and, like, he kept choking me. But I sucked my hands right in between his arm and my throat. That's some shit I learned from a book. So it allowed for a little bit of airflow, just enough for me to last until he got tired of trying to choke me. So he just got back up. He just got up off me and left. And I was on the ground for maybe like a few minutes. And then I get back up. And I spit all the blood out of my mouth. And I just started laughing. The shit was funny as fuck. Like, I was really high. I couldn't take it seriously. I didn't really feel the pain from getting my face hit on the concrete. So me and my boys, they pick me up. We go back to the house. Smoke a few more joints. And I go back home. And that was that. It was... Looking back at it, it's funny as fuck, and it was funny that day too. Like I said, I was too high to really take the injury seriously. A lot of kids in my school thought I had gotten killed. Actually, like they thought those dudes killed me, but no. A few people confirmed that I was still alive the next day. After, because I wasn't going to school at the time, I was trying to go online, but I basically just dropped out. And when the school bus came by, they stopped by my house to check on me. I had band-aids all over my chin and shit. And, I was chilling, doing my thing. And I told them the story. They thought it was funny too. Honestly, aside from that fight I got in a few months later, that was like the last fight I've really been in. I've gotten in a few brief scuffles, but I haven't been in like a real ass fight since a few months after I turned 16. And I guess that's a good thing, because now there's some serious consequences. But that's one thing that keeps me from getting a fight these days, because I know there's some serious repercussions. Like, I can go to fucking jail now, whereas when I was 16, it's a slap on the wrist. But yeah, that's that. The dude. So I checked on my Twitter to see what dude had said, and he was telling everybody he beat the shit out of me, and I was also telling everybody that he didn't really beat the shit out of me. I was beating the shit out of him, and I just fucked up and got cocky, and then he laid his fat ass on top of me. But that's the last time I've heard from the dude. I saw him a few times in my senior year, and a few times in my junior year. He would come to basketball games and shit. But as far as I know, there's nothing else in between us, and there shouldn't be. Shit happened like 3 years ago. Yeah, that's it. Take care.